Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Michelle, your host and owner of adreamlife.com. And today I want to have a discussion about the state of mind that narcissists can leave their targets in, or their victims, or whatever we like to call them. So if you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, and you've dealt with narcissists on any level, or if you've dealt with toxic people and you can't seem to figure it out, this is the channel for you. So you'll do good to subscribe. And another quick message, I want you guys to watch this video all the way to the end, because on the end I'm going to challenge you with some information with the hopes of helping you realize something important about these dark and depressive feelings that narcissistic people can leave us in long after they're gone. Hey guys, welcome back. So first I want to say I am not a licensed psychologist for any state or any country. And although I studied psychology and graduated from a college, an accredited college, and I am a degree holder, it has nothing to do with what I share with you, but everything to do with me just really wanting to understand the mind more, right? And I think this is important for all of us, even if you don't go to college, or if you went and you studied something else, that you spend time watching videos like mine, and learning more about people. Because if you don't, your spirit and your light will be taken out. And here's why. Narcissistic people, and as I said, I'm going to get to something on the end that I really believe will help you, this piece of information, because it's something that I didn't remember. And the reason why I want to put this in your head and bring this into the cipher is because I truly believe that words have power, right? I know they have power. They have energy that survives forever, because either we're, in any given moment, we're overcoming the words that someone said to us, or we're thriving because of words that someone said to us. And so I've made it my life's purpose to try to make sure that most of my words are helping, because I already lived in those days when my words were hurting, either because I was hurting or because I thought that was a way to handle myself. And most of the time it comes from dealing with toxic people, or living with toxic people, or being raised by toxic people, till you get to the point where you're kind of like programmed to be toxic as well, because you're in a toxic relationship or a toxic environment, or you're constantly being exposed to toxicity. And what makes it toxic is because what toxins do is they contaminate pure things. So let's remember that, right? Choosing our words. And so the reason I'm sharing this thing with you at the end is because I know it's going to stay in your mind. Even if it goes into the back of your subconscious mind, there will come a day where it may save your life. It may save you. It may send you to get a therapist, or whatever you need to do to come up out of that state. Now, we're all pretty optimistic people, and when you get into a relationship with a narcissist, if you don't know you're in a relationship with a narcissist, or you don't know you're dealing with a psychopath, like I have dealt with, you will slowly but surely, you will be taken over. Even in instances where you think that you have strength and you have things under control, if you're with a truly narcissistic or psychopathic person, over time, this person will not only tear down your self-esteem, tear down your reality and what you think about life and what you want and your desires, they will also kind of tear down your spirit and your physical being and your psyche, right? Because all of these things work together. There are a lot of elements that I'm not able to discuss in the video for a couple of minutes. But at any rate, I just want to remind you that at every moment of your life, you are charged with having control over your happiness, control over your dreams and your process. But when you get involved with people, I'm going to tell you a story. When you get involved with people who conflict with your natural desires and your higher self and your mission and your journey on life, it's gonna hold you back, right? You're gonna get kind of stuck. You're gonna get stuck inside of a reality that is actually being guided or being constructed by another person. And the reason this is able to happen, this happens, is because we love these people, or we respect these people, or we look up to people and we honor people, whether they're our parents or, you know, they're our wife or our husband. We have a connection to these people, and so we tolerate certain things, right? And we turn a blind eye to abuse or cheating or misuse. And when I say abuse, and I think I've mentioned this before, it is not always somebody smacking you and beating you and punching you in the face or blacking your eyes. Abuse has infinite ways of manifesting itself. It is abuse to have a friend or someone that you call a friend or a best friend who does not nurture the relationship, but they still want to hold a label. That's abuse. That's emotional and psychological abuse on your natural desire to want to do better or to experience a loving, supportive, trusting relationship, right? But we settle for those. And when we settle for those, what happens is these bad feelings of us not being able to satisfy our needs, I believe that they start to pile up. They pile up. It becomes like a residue of resentment, a residue of disappointment, a residue of anger and hate. And then it starts to turn in on the self, because you have nowhere to put it. And this is what I believe causes states of depression. Now, I don't see depression as a bad thing. I don't see depression, I can't say for all stages, because there are many stages of depression, and I think that each one of us has something inside, like an internal compass that we call intuition or our gut feeling, that is leading us. I feel confident that the universe, God, has produced us with a spiritual outlet and an invisible connection to a higher source of power that will let us know if we need to walk into a doctor's office, or if we need to go to the gym, or if we need to meditate, or if we need to research. Whatever it is that we need to do, believe me when I tell you, you have a compass inside. Listen to it, right? So this video is in addition to anything else. So that's the first thing I want to say behind what I just said to you. So what happens is, over time, if you're dealing with someone who you fell in love with, that you thought would, stay on the same wavelength as you in terms of having children, how you want to care for your children, or how you want to care for your home, and then you end up in a relationship with someone who is financially irresponsible, who is a cheater, who may have burnt you and gave you a disease. We have diseases that are incurable. We have herpes, we have AIDS, we have all these different things, right? So you go through all of these things in life. And how do we ever correct those things? Most of us don't even make attempts to correct what we went through. We think that we've healed. We go through this horrible heartbreak and disappointment. Some of us may take a break. I'm one of those people that I go into unhealthy isolations, and I had to realize that about myself. But even in my isolation, my inner compass will let me know when I need to pull out of the isolation, and so far I've been pretty lucky. But even as a writer and as an author, a lot of the things that I went through sometimes bring me pain out of nowhere. My light can suddenly turn into darkness. That's why I don't even believe that, there's a full healing, maybe in a complete enlightened Buddha spirit. But it takes a lot of work, in my beliefs, to get over or to get through the many, many lifetimes of karma and pain that we experience. But just focusing on this lifetime, anything that you may have went through in relationships or family relationships, I see it as a residue that's compounded. And so this is what would explain why we go into these depressive modes, or why, let's say, you can be driving in traffic and, now you're stuck in traffic and you're hostile and you're angry and you're upset. Why does this happen? Right? So here's the story that I want to tell you. What I think one of the many, many stories of deceit and deception that I didn't realize until after hindsight, looking back on the story. So one of the psychopathic narcissists that I was dating, we went on a vacation. And I can't swim. I'm not a swimmer. I've been trying to learn, but I didn't swim. And I think the thing with swimming is that you have to learn early. But we were on vacation. This particular person that I was with is a very good swimmer. He swims like a fish. That's something that I knew about him. He's very intuitive. He was a street guy. He's the type of person that if he even heard like a click, he got his hand on his gun. So the reason I'm explaining this to you about this person is because he was highly sharp, very, very reflective. He had a lot of reflex. Like, he was really good. He was good geographically. He knew where he was. We would never get lost. And if we got lost, out of town or somewhere, he really knew how to find his way back. We were involved in some high tense police car chases, and he got away. He's a really good driver. And so at this time I didn't know that this person was a narcissistic psychopath, and I was in a relationship with this person for a few years. We were on vacation and I was on a float. He knows that I can't swim, and he may have said to me, be careful, don't float too far, because you can't swim. And it was almost like he cursed me. I don't know. But I was floating and I was talking to someone, and I got distracted a couple of minutes later. So he was about, 15 feet or maybe even 20 feet. He was a stretch away from me at the other end of the pool when I started talking, and I forgot that I was on a float and that I had floated into the deep area. All I know is I went to stand up to talk more or to give better body language to the woman that I was having this discussion with in the pool. And when I got off the float to step down, I had my arms on, still on the float, but I slipped. And the next thing I know, I was, what happens when you slip in water and you can't swim. I was overtaken by the water, and I was in a deep hole. And I managed to get up. I don't know how it happens with the body, but I managed to get up to scream. And I saw him at the other end look into my eyes. So he saw me. And then I jumped up again. I had a little bit more energy, but the water was actually getting down in my throat at this point. So it was about 3 times. And he never budged. This is a person who I was engaged to. And everything else I just described to you about the type of personality that he had. But I was too young and naive to see it for what it was at the time. Lo and behold, I started losing my breath or whatever, and then someone started yelling, a woman who was on maybe poolside. I heard her saying, "She's fucking drowning." And then I could see from under the water as I started to kind of lose consciousness. I was actually, it was over for me. I saw the shirts, the people of the resorts, and these guys, they jumped in, they dived in, they got me out. I'm spitting out this water. All of my energy is gone, and I'm laid out, and now I see him exiting the pool. And, it was a crazy experience. And so, I was just trying to get my breath back, get my wind back. And so we had a discussion later, and I was like, "You didn't save me. Are you kidding me?" And he was like, "Oh my God, I was so shocked. I panicked." That's what he said. And so I don't want to get into all the particulars of that subject, but it always was, in my mind, like, wow, this is amazing. But, after my studies and more life experience, I look back on it and it comes back. And now knowing who he is and some of the things that he's done, I know now that this was a sign or a symptom of this disorder that we discuss. Narcissism and psychopath. He was actually enjoying that and willing to see how far it was going to go. Now, this is an accusation. However, it is an accusation pulled from many years of experience with this person. And so we're always going to have to use our judgment, and hopefully our better judgment, when reflecting on our experiences with the people in our lives who have hurt us. And why this is important is because until we get the message of the kind of person that we're dealing with, this type of person will show up in our lives over and over again. And this is something that I didn't know. And so memories like these are not always conscious. They're not always in the front of our minds, right? Like, we don't always remember the person who cheated on us and broke our hearts, and that day we cried so hard and we had the argument and we threw the person out, or when we found out that our best friend slept with our boyfriend, or that, you know, our best friend mistreated us or lied. You know, all these different things. They're not always at the front of our minds, because if they were, we would go crazy and we wouldn't be able to function. However, I do believe that they sit somewhere, you know, low on the subconscious level, and that residue can trigger depression. And sometimes people be like, I don't know why I'm feeling bad. I don't know why I'm feeling bad. You know, I just feel depressed today. I don't feel good today. And sometimes it'll just be something that happened that triggered this residue. And we get into this really dark space. And I know it happens for me. Even at, you know, this far advanced on my spiritual journey, I still deal with darkness because of the many things that I saw and the many things that I experienced, and coming to the realization that there is an opposite energy in our world that works on the other end of the spectrum, that's only here to take, and that's only there, you know, looking for you to behave in a way to give them amusement, which we call narcissistic supply, and that these people really don't care or give a shit about you, and this is how they operate, right? But I just want to remind you, and here's the purpose of this video. I'm coming to the end of this video. Thanks for letting me share that story. I got so many stories for you guys, and like I told you, if you have stories, please submit them. ask-michelle@adreamlife.com. And if you're hurting, or if you can't create, or you just can't follow your dreams, visit me at adreamlife.com, and we could get through this in 12 weeks and get your story out, get everything done. So that's what I do. So just a reminder. In Buddhism, I don't like to call myself a Buddhist, but I do study Eastern philosophy. I study African philosophies. I study Christianity and everything, and I kind of get the same information, right? Just in different ways. And this is something that I always have to remember, and I want to remind you today. No matter what you're feeling, when you go into a dark place, a depressive, and you feel sad, or you feel disappointed, or you feel like you can't have the life that you want, or, you know, everything is just so fucked up, and whatever you're feeling, this is something I want you to remember. And I'm going to use a comparison first. Imagine getting in your car and you're driving and you're stuck on a street and there's just so much traffic, and then you start to get frustrated and you're brewing because you have to be somewhere. In that moment, when you can't get past those cars, you do know that there is another street right on the other side of you. There is another place on the planet that you exist in, even in the community that you exist in, where it's quiet and there are trees and there's a park. There's something good happening somewhere. You just really don't have access to it right now because you're being provoked by this traffic. It's the same thing with our feelings and our emotions. When we get into that dark place and we feel like we can't get out, this is the part that I want you to remember. Right now, at that moment, something is provoking an emotion to the top that is dark and negative. However, all of those good emotions exist in the same space. Your happiness, your inspiration, your drive, your will, your dreams, your path, your process, your journey, your desires, they are all there in the same space. And the only person who can provoke them in the moment when no one is there is you. And you have to always remember that. Mind over matter, and when your mind is not working, spirit over mind. And remember that the spirit is infinite, and every single emotion and everything that you need to get to is still there. I know it's hard. Sometimes you have to drag yourself to a different space, whether it's a book or a hot bathtub or whatever it is. You have to remember that in your darkest moment, it's just one part of your dynamic being. Like, you're a dynamic person. And while people may try to ruin you and cut off and snuff out your light and deceive you, that is really on them. And every situation that we go through, every painful, hurtful experience that we have, has been designed and is created to teach us more about ourselves, but most importantly, to grow us, to fulfill our destiny. And the biggest destiny of all is to realize self-realization. Your spirit, it will grow once you overcome the darkness, but we have to have the darkness. And I think the next video I'm going to talk about the narcissist and the psychopath, and I'm going to have a discussion about how important they are to exist. But now we're reaching a point in our consciousness where we have to be able to identify them. We cannot be suckered into love relationships with them anymore. We have to at least know who they are. So we are on a somewhat leveled playing field. Love and light. If you like this video, prove it by pressing like. And thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, you heard what I told you earlier. This is the place you want to be for constant healing and growing and self-realization. It is not over.